Breaking today, Prince Harry's courtroom dramas are set to cost him £1.5 million.
I think Meghan is an absolute nightmare of a woman, and I do have my suspicions that he ended up with her out of some sort of trauma response to the
£5 million of his own money sunk into another disastrous case, and he doesn't have this money anymore, does he? I mean, I know there's the inheritance from the late Queen Mother, and he is still sitting on the nest egg from Princess Diana, but remember, their outgoings are so extraordinarily large. What are you hearing about the financial situation and why this is potentially motivating this attempt at peace talks with King Charles?
Yes, well, it's extremely difficult for him because Meghan uses so much money. They have so many people who try to look after them, all four of them. It's 3 a day, so they get an awful lot of money.
What if I told you Prince Harry is burning through millions, losing allies, and possibly about to be exposed by the very man who once saved him? This isn't a royal comeback, it's a royal collapse. And trust me, the worst is yet to come. Buckle up, because this royal roller coaster just veered into scandal territory worthy of a primetime drama. Prince Harry isn't just wrestling with emotions, his wallet's in freefall, thanks to a cascade of legal battles that, according to royal biographer Angela Levin, are devouring his fortune at breakneck speed. One case alone, a jaw-dropping £1.5 million. And while he still has some inheritance tucked away from Princess Diana and the Queen Mother, it's evaporating under the weight of Meghan's celebrity lifestyle think designer labels, diamond, accessories, and a California mansion with 16 bathrooms and, allegedly, 3 staffers per person. But the real chaos, his war against the Daily Mail. The judge isn't pleased, especially after whispers surfaced that Harry's legal team may have paid for evidence, including a shady $5,000 a month arrangement with a private investigator named Gavin Burrows. Even more eyebrow-raising, Harry allegedly texted Baroness Doreen Lawrence, whose tragic story was long supported by the same paper he's suing, nudging her to join his lawsuit, prompting questions of manipulation and strained loyalties. Documents have mysteriously vanished, messages deleted, and the judge is running out of patience, hinting the entire case could be tossed unless Harry comes clean. Meanwhile, their cash burn continues. Spotify dumped them, Netflix is cooling, and Meghan's lifestyle hasn't skipped a beat. Angela Levin says Harry's finances are in serious trouble. But perhaps the most telling sign is his mindset, clinging to the belief that royal status still commands applause, while reality shows fewer cheers, fewer headlines, and a growing sense that this courtroom crusade looks less like justice and more like a prince in freefall, scrambling to hold on to relevance. This isn't the Prince Harry the world once embraced. The soldier who served with quiet courage in Afghanistan, the young royal who stood dutifully beside his brother and Kate, or the grandson who smiled, sometimes shyly, beside the Queen. That version of Harry has faded into memory. In his place stands a man seemingly scrambling to recast his story, only this time, the world isn't quite buying it. Peel back the Netflix gloss and media soundbites, and you'll find a sobering truth. The fairy tale is fractured. What began as a symbol of a fresh, modern monarchy has slowly unraveled into a headline circus, where Harry and Meghan, once beacons of royal reinvention, are now fodder for late-night jokes and skeptical tabloid blurbs. Their brand, once built on noble defiance, now teeters dangerously close to aimless resistance. And without the wind of public goodwill behind them, their rebellion no longer feels daring, it feels desperate. Like two people clinging to a script the world has already stopped reading.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I think she would be sad. I think she'd be looking at it long term, to know that there are certain things that we need to go through to be able to heal the relationship. I have felt the presence of my mum more so in the last 2 years than I have in the last 30.
Let's talk strategy, or, more accurately, the glaring absence of one. Prince Harry's high-profile crusade against the British press, once framed as a principled stand against tabloid abuse, has evolved, or perhaps devolved, into a full-blown obsession, a relentless and costly campaign that is now draining more than just his finances. It's leeching away his credibility, one legal filing at a time. What once carried the noble intention of protecting personal dignity and reclaiming narrative control has mutated into a perpetual courtside drama, where Harry seems less like a prince on a mission and more like a man stuck in the past. endlessly, trying to avenge wounds the world has largely moved on from. His lawsuits, some reportedly exceeding 7 figures, have become labyrinthine and exhausting to even follow, let alone support. Even his staunchest defenders are struggling to justify the time, energy, and millions funneled into this legal maze. For the wider public, it's not just fatigue, it's indifference. The audience that once hung on his every word has checked out, not out of cruelty, but because the narrative no longer resonates. His name, which once commanded global respect and front-page prominence, has lost its punch. It no longer holds gravity in the courtroom, where judges reportedly view his arguments with increasing skepticism, nor in entertainment, where Hollywood has proven brutally fickle. Fame in that world is transactional, fleeting, and unsentimental. Harry, without the mystique of the monarchy and without a compelling new direction, is simply another headline that's lost its shine. What began as a mission for accountability, his wife, protecting his family, standing against media intrusion, now looks like a man shadowboxing his own image. Fixated on battles that no longer hold cultural weight, the world has moved forward, fast, while Harry seems frozen in a feedback loop, trying to correct a public narrative with legal documents and closed-door court sessions. Meanwhile, Meghan, instead of steering them toward stability or redemption, appears entangled in the very same missteps. The glossy appearances continue, photo shoots, curated events, looks, brand teasers, but beneath the polished surface lies a strategy that feels reactive, not proactive. They aren't building, they're scrambling. Every PR move feels like a counter to criticism, rather than a step forward. And every time they attempt to reset the narrative, a new leak, headline, or social media backlash knocks them off course. Their Montecito mansion, which at $14 million once symbolized a fresh start, now resembles a gilded echo chamber, a place where feedback is filtered and reality distorted. With 16 bathrooms, an estimated $2 million a year spent on private security, and a revolving door of high-paid consultants, assistants, and advisors, it's less a sanctuary and more a stage. One where control is everything, but authenticity is conspicuously absent. The problem isn't the wealth, it's the optics, the contrast between their calls for privacy and their penchant for public storytelling, between their declarations of vulnerability and their curated displays of perfection. This dissonance hasn't gone unnoticed. Once hailed as bold rebels charting a new course outside the crown, they now appear as disconnected elites trying to manufacture relatability through filtered lenses and scripted podcasts. And the consequences of this perception gap are piling up. The royal family remains estranged, with sources close to the palace quietly insisting trust has been permanently eroded. British audiences have largely turned away, weary of what they see as endless grievances wrapped in designer packaging. And in the US, where the couple once found eager support, the tide is shifting. Audiences are asking harder questions. Where's the content Netflix paid for? What happened to the Spotify deal? Why does every new venture from children's books to lifestyle brands feel more like a PR exercise than a passion project? Even once loyal allies are starting to fall silent. Tyler Perry, who famously offered the couple refuge in their time of need, is now rumored to be sitting on explosive recordings and behind-the-scenes footage. Reports suggest Perry witnessed rehearsed tears, PR consultations, and private discussions about how to present the Sussexes as victims without appearing too calculated. If that material is ever released, it could append what little goodwill remains. He was there before the lights were on. He saw what the rest of us did and single quotes t. Behind the curtain, the Sussex empire looks increasingly fragile. Former staff described the working environment as chaotic and emotionally exhausting. Some allege that the internal culture was driven by fear, unpredictability, and an insatiable need for control. Turnover rates have been shockingly high, communications teams burnt out and replaced, stylists and assistants leaving abruptly, PR firms fired mid-campaign. The decision to part ways with Sunshine Sachs, the powerhouse firm that once shaped their image, sent a signal not of reinvention, but of retreat. Insiders say the split wasn't mutual, and what's followed hasn't been a creative renaissance, but a PR vacuum. That void has been filled by criticism, speculation, and a steady drip of reputational hits. Financial cracks are also showing. The Spotify deal, once a marquee announcement touted as part of their media empire, collapsed unceremoniously, with insiders describing the output as underwhelming and unfocused. Netflix, once bullish on the couple, is reportedly hesitating content, questioning strategy, and delaying payments. Their nonprofit Arkawell, once envisioned as a hub for meaningful social impact, has seen a 30% decline in donations over the past year. The organization has struggled to define a clear identity beyond vague mission statements and sporadic press releases. And Meghan's much-hyped lifestyle brand, With Love, Meghan, meant to be her triumphant return to the wellness and influence space, has faced early backlash from tone-deaf marketing to questions about authenticity. Viewers and critics alike have begun to sense the gap between message and reality, and in an age of hyper-transparency, that disconnect is lethal. What began as a bold departure from royal life, a leap toward autonomy, creative freedom, and emotional honesty, has now become a case study in brand disintegration. Their story, once laced with hope and revolution, now reads more like a long, slow unraveling. The themes have shifted from courage to control, from inspiration to inconsistency. Every step forward, a podcast, a photo op, a charitable announcement, followed by 2 steps back, a lawsuit, a leaked staff complaint, an awkward headline. Their strategy, if there is one, lacks cohesion. There's no clear arc, no meaningful evolution, just a patchwork of public relations, plays and media rebuttals. And perhaps the most troubling sign, the silence from people who once stood proudly by their side. Silence from industry partners, collaborators, friends. In today's world, silence often speaks louder than scandal. Even their core message, speaking truth to power, challenging old systems, carving a new path, has been undermined by the very thing they sought to escape: performance. At its best, their platform once championed compassion, mental health, and social progress. At its worst, it now seems dominated by image maintenance, curated victimhood, and a growing resistance to accountability. They haven't just lost trust, they've lost the plot. And without a serious course correction, one grounded in humility, clarity, and authenticity, they risk becoming a footnote in their own story, a brand that burned bright, then collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. The royal fairy tale has curdled into a cautionary tale. And the latest chapter, unfolding around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, is anything but regal. What began as a globally captivating love story, a prince choosing love over duty, and a duchess determined to modernize the monarchy, has now descended into a carefully choreographed media saga filled with contradictions, unraveling brand, alliances, and reputational hazards that even the best PR team would struggle to contain. The couple, once poised to redefine royalty for a new generation, are now viewed by many as cautionary symbols of what happens when narrative control replaces authenticity. Their latest misstep, Meghan's highly anticipated With Love lifestyle rollout, a project once poised to be her defining comeback, is now drawing raised eyebrows and eye rolls in equal measure. Viewers who initially welcomed the concept with optimism, hoping to see a softer, more grounded side of the Duchess, question everything, from the exorbitant price tags of her featured kitchen gear to whether she actually has any culinary background to speak of. The tipping point, however, may have come with her curt dismissal of backlash. This is a thing in 2025, intended as a cheeky nod to being ahead of the curve. The comment instead struck many as flippant and tone-deaf, reinforcing a growing suspicion that Meghan, once hailed as a relatable everywoman, may now be deeply out of touch with her audience. But the surface-level misfires are the least of their worries. Behind the scenes, a far more damaging storm is reportedly brewing, and it centers around none other than Tyler Perry, the very man who once offered the Sussexes refuge in their time of need. After giving them sanctuary and privacy during their post-royal exit chaos, Perry was publicly thanked in early interviews and the infamous Oprah sit-down. But since then, he's seemingly been erased from their gratitude narratives, left out of recent tributes, press statements, and even key acknowledgments in their docuseries. According to multiple sources, Perry isn't just disappointed, he's preparing to push back. And he's doing it with methodical, surgical precision. Insiders claim he possesses an arsenal of receipts, private recordings, behind-the-scenes footage, and candid conversations that paint a vastly different picture from the one the couple has carefully constructed. Among the alleged recordings, moments where Meghan discusses how to frame her estranged family members in interviews to elicit public sympathy, strategy sessions on maintaining victim optics while avoiding legal pitfalls, and even a clip of Harry expressing deep frustration that Netflix rejected what he called their version of the truth. In one particularly damning instance, Perry allegedly captured the couple rehearsing emotional responses before filming a segment for a docuseries, a detail that, if verified, could irreparably damage their credibility as sincere narrators of their own story. These aren't minor flubs or harmless miscommunications. These are potential reputational landmines. And Harry knows it. Insiders believe his recent, abrupt return to the UK, marketed as a surprise visit, had little to do with royal duty or reconciliation. It was damage control. A quiet attempt to salvage crumbling ties before Perry's supposed tapes make their public debut. Because the brutal truth is this: outside of the crown, stripped of titles and institutional mystique, Harry is no longer an untouchable figure. In California, he's not Prince Harry, beloved war hero and royal rebel. He's just another celebrity in a city that churns through stars with alarming speed. And unlike others in Hollywood, he doesn't have a steady portfolio of hit films, a loyal fan base built over decades, or a business empire to fall back on. He has his story, and that story is quickly wearing thin. The cracks are now structural, not cosmetic. Spotify has pulled the plug on their multi-million-dollar deal, citing unmet benchmarks and low return on engagement. Netflix, once their golden goose, is reportedly pausing payments, expressing concern over the direction and relevance of their content. Archewell, their non-profit brainchild, has seen donation numbers plummet down nearly 30% in the last fiscal year, and internal documents suggest organizational confusion. With shifting missions and failed program rollouts, even their once PR firm, Sunshine sacks the team that meticulously sculpted their public image from day one, has cut ties. Allegedly due to strategic disagreements and mounting frustration over inconsistent messaging. And inside the walls of their Montecito estate, things are no more stable. Former staff paint a picture of constant burnout, broken promises, and an environment more akin to a 24/7 crisis command center than a peaceful family home. One ex-staffer reportedly described their job as dodging landmines and drafting apologies, while another confessed to experiencing emotional exhaustion from constantly recalibrating public messaging in response to Meghan's sudden pivots and Harry's legal entanglements. The revolving door of employees, nannies, assistants, stylists, advisors has become its own subplot in this drama, with some sources suggesting over 24 staff changes since their move to California. Meanwhile, Meghan's podcast, a cornerstone of her personal brand, has been delayed once again, despite earlier claims of a robust production schedule. Industry insiders whisper of creative disagreements, missed recording deadlines, and uncertainty over the podcast's tone and direction. And a rumored documentary project, said to offer an intimate look into the Sussexes' life post-royalty, remains in what producers diplomatically call development limbo. One Netflix executive, speaking anonymously, reportedly said, "There's only so long you can sell a story of escape and healing before people start asking, 'What have you built since?'" The looming release of Perry's alleged bombshell tapes could be the tipping point. Legal teams on both sides are reportedly in motion, consulting on potential defamation risks, evaluating breach of trust claims, and preparing contingency plans for a PR response should the recordings go public. For Harry and Meghan, whose entire post-royal brand has been built on a foundation of honesty, transparency, and personal growth, such leaks could dismantle years of carefully curated storytelling. And the public? They're not angry anymore. They're exhausted. Exhausted by the endless blame shifting, the whiplash between vulnerability and defiance. The sense that every new project is less about substance and more about staying relevant. What once felt like a genuine plea for understanding has slowly morphed into image management, polished talking points, and reactive messaging. People wanted to root for them. They really did. But trust, the rarest currency in both celebrity and royalty, has been steadily eroded. Every delay, every contradiction, every awkward headline chips away at the goodwill that once surrounded them like a halo. Now, Harry appears caught in a personal and professional limbo, clinging to the belief that his title alone still commands attention and empathy. But the headlines have moved on. And the public, despite its initial embrace, may have done the same. Reinvention is still possible, but it will take more than branded tea sets, Netflix deals, and red carpet appearances. It will take humility, ownership, a willingness to step away from victimhood and step into real accountability. The question is whether Harry and Meghan can make that leap, or whether their legacy will be one of squandered opportunity and a cautionary tale of what happens when you trade authenticity for control. As for what's next, that's the $100 million Netflix question. Will they pivot, evolve, and truly connect with the world again? Or will their brand collapse under the weight of its own contradictions? The stage is still theirs for now, but the spotlight is dimming, and in the court of public opinion, time is running out. It all began with a smirk and a punchline Colin Jost, staring into the SNL camera, quipped the UK has agreed to a trade deal with the US, and all they ask in return is that we keep these two, as a photo of Harry and Meghan flashed on screen and the studio erupted in laughter. But it wasn't just a joke, it was a cultural pivot point. SNL, long seen as a barometer of public sentiment, had officially turned the once-revered couple into late-night fodder for Meghan, who's been quietly trying to rebrand herself through lifestyle ventures and image control. It was a brutal reminder that the internet never forgets. NBC's announcement of a Suits spin-off, this time featuring Meghan's character, raising an unemployed immigrant husband, only twisted the knife. Within hours, old photos resurfaced, a woman who looked strikingly like Meghan on a yacht in the 2010s. Champagne in hand, luxury all around. No names needed. Online sleuths did the rest. The whispers returned. Was this love story an organic fairy tale, or a well-planned social climb? It wasn't about a single photo, it was about the growing divide between Meghan's carefully manicured image and the shadow version that keeps seeping through leaks, jokes, and staff confessions. One former employee even described working in their household as dehumanizing, claiming staff turnover was far worse than reported, and the numbers back it up. Dozens of assistants, stylists, PR reps, and nannies have come and gone since the Montecito move. And the irony. Just a day after Jost's roast aired, Meghan posted a sweet Mother's Day moment with Archie and Lilibet, soft lighting, maternal love, wholesome vibes. But days earlier, the couple was spotted courtside at Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter concert, sipping champagne in a VIP box. The contrast didn't go unnoticed, especially as Page Six reported that Harry has been effectively frozen out by the royal family, with sources saying bluntly, nobody trusts him anymore. And it's not just Harry, it's Meghan, too. The trust deficit is real, and forgiveness might be possible, but forgetting? Absolutely not. Back at SNL, Jost wasn't done. He took another swipe, saying Meghan keeps rewriting her past based on who she's trying to impress. And that line hit hard because it echoed what Redditors, podcast hosts, and amateur digital sleuths have been digging into for months. Old footage, interviews, metadata, guest lists, all quietly eroding the once beloved Sussex origin story. None of this is being driven by tabloids, it's everyday users, combing timelines, piecing things together, building a digital archive of contradictions. Even the once explosive Oprah interview, where Meghan and Harry claimed a royal asked how dark their baby might be, has lost its protective shock value. Comedians like Chris Rock are now riffing on it. That's not racist, he joked. Even black people want to know how brown the baby's gonna be. It was controversial, but telling Harry and Meghan are no longer wrapped in the cocoon of public sympathy. They're fair game. With lawsuits looming, trust evaporating, staff fleeing, and Tyler Perry reportedly sitting on recordings that could obliterate their narrative, Harry is said to be panicking. His sudden visit to the UK doesn't look like reconciliation, looks like desperation. Because at least there, he's still a prince. In California, without the title, without the magic. He's just another celebrity trying to stay relevant in a town that moves on quickly. So now, the question isn't whether Harry and Meghan will bounce back, it's whether they even can. Will they pivot with grace and transparency? Or double down, blame the media, and keep playing defense while their brand crumbles? Let me know your thoughts below and if you're still with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines.